Imagine a place that defies every rule of human geography. It rises almost 2,000 meters, straight out of the cold depths of the Atlantic Ocean. There is no gentle approach here, no coastal plain to ease you in, no golden sandy beaches welcoming travelers, just black volcanic rock climbing almost vertically, from the water until it disappears into the mist. It has no natural rivers at sea level. It has almost zero flat ground. Geologically speaking, this is not an island with a mountain on it. This island is the mountain, an ancient, jagged peak that erupted from the dark ocean floor 5 million years ago. By all logic of human survival, this place should be an empty, hostile monument to isolation, and yet, 270,000 people call it home. Look closely at these cliffs. Human beings didn't just survive here, they conquered the impossible. They built vibrant cities on sheer precipices. They carved over 2,500 kilometers of narrow water channels directly into the solid rock faces to trap the mountain's tears. They took a vertical wasteland and transformed it into the most productive agricultural system in the Atlantic. 600 kilometers off the coast of Morocco, 1,000 kilometers from mainland Portugal. Welcome to Madeira. This is the story of what happens when human beings refuse to accept a landscape as uninhabitable. This is the story of a civilization built inside a 15-million-year-old forest, hanging on the side of a 5-million-year-old volcano, in the absolute dead center of the ocean. The result is two entirely different worlds, separated by a single, narrow spine of volcanic rock. On the north side, it is a wild, wet, primordial rainforest, dominated by dramatic waterfalls. On the south side, just a few kilometers away, it is a sun-drenched, warm paradise where cities like Funchal thrive. The mountain catches the water in the north, but the people lived in the south. And that geographic disconnect set the stage for one of the most brutal, brilliant engineering feats in human history. When the first Portuguese explorers dropped anchor here in 1419, they were greeted by an island so thick with ancient greenery, they named it Madeira, the Portuguese word for wood. The entire island was wrapped in a dense, dark laurel forest known as the Laurisilva. It was so thick, it practically blocked out the sky. This forest is a living fossil. It has existed largely unchanged for 15 million years, predating the very volcano it grows upon. But the settlers had a desperate problem. To build a colony, they needed agriculture. To grow profitable crops like sugarcane, they needed the warmth of the south. But the south was bone dry, while the uninhabitable north was drowning in water. Their solution? The Levadas. They decided to bind the mountain in stone arteries. The Levadas are narrow irrigation channels, perfectly level, carved directly into the vertical rock faces of the mountains. They follow the exact contour lines of the terrain for kilometers, capturing water from the high altitudes of the north and gently coaxing it down to the southern farms. Today, the total length of Madeira's Levada system stretches an unbelievable 2,500 kilometers. Relative to the size of the island, it is the longest irrigation network on planet Earth. But we must look past the beauty of the water to understand the cost of its creation. These channels weren't built with modern machinery. Across 5 centuries, they were chiseled by hand. Much of the early, most dangerous work was forced upon enslaved Africans and the captured Guanche people of the Canary Islands. Imagine standing on a wooden platform suspended by ropes over a 300-meter abyss, swinging a pickaxe into solid volcanic basalt. Day after day, with no safety gear, many fell, many died. The water that quietly flows through the Levadas today runs along paths cut by forgotten, enslaved hands half a millennium ago. In a strange twist of history, these maintenance paths, originally built for workers to clear mud and debris, have transformed. They have become one of the most legendary hiking trail networks in the world. Tourists from every corner of the globe come to walk these narrow ledges, passing through 15-million-year-old forests, sliding through pitch-black tunnels, and looking down at the immense expanse of the Atlantic. An ancient system born of economic necessity and human suffering has become a 21st-century sanctuary for travelers. But living on the edge of a volcano means peace is always temporary. The very geography that gives Madeira its beauty makes it inherently volatile. In February of 2010, the mountain broke. Catastrophic flash floods tore down the steep slopes after unprecedented rainfall. Water moved faster than the island's infrastructure could ever handle, turning streets into raging rivers. Entire bridges were snapped in two. Roads were dragged into the sea. 42 people lost their lives in a matter of hours. Just 6 months later, the opposite extreme struck. In August of 2010, after a severe drought, catastrophic wildfires erupted across the hillsides above Funchal. The ancient laurel forest is usually too damp to burn, but modern monoculture plantations of imported eucalyptus caught like matchsticks. The sky turned a sickening shade of orange. Ash rained down on the yachts in the harbor. 3 more people died as the flames licked the edges of residential neighborhoods. Fire in the summer, flood in the winter. On any other island, a double disaster of this scale would trigger an exodus. But the people of Madeira possess a unique cultural trait, an obsession with permanence. Within 2 years of the mudslides, every single destroyed road was rebuilt. Within 3 years, tourism numbers surpassed pre-disaster levels. Within 5, the blackened hillsides were intentionally ray-green. When disaster strikes Madeira, the response is never to retreat. It is to rebuild exactly what was there before, because what was there before was deemed worth keeping. This defiance of the terrain shows up in the most unexpected traditions. Take the Monte Toboggan. To a modern tourist, a ride in a wicker basket on wooden runners being pushed down a steep, public road by men in straw hats looks like a quirky amusement ride. But it actually began as a brilliant solution to a frustrating engineering problem. In the 1800s, the wealthy Monte hillside neighborhood sat high above the Funchal harbor. The roads were far too steep for traditional horse-drawn carriages to safely travel down. The solution? Build heavy wicker sleds, grease the wooden runners, and hire skilled drivers to use their own body weight and heavy rubber boots as brakes to slide cargo and citizens down the mountain. The modern world eventually brought cars and highways, but Madeira didn't abandon the toboggans. But the ultimate symbol of Madeira's ability to turn an environmental problem into a triumph is its world-famous wine. Madeira wine is one of the oldest and most resilient named wines on Earth. It was used to toast the signing of the American Declaration of Independence in 1776. It was famously the personal favorite of George Washington, but its creation process defies all winemaking logic. Normally, heat and oxygen are the ultimate enemies of wine. They spoil it. But on Madeira, the wine is intentionally subjected to a process called estufagem. The wine is placed in heated tanks, or left in barrels under the baking sun of attic storerooms for months, sometimes years. This intense heat cooks and oxidizes the liquid, caramelizing the sugars. It destroys everything that could cause a normal wine to go bad. The result? A flavor profile so indestructible that it can age for centuries. Bottles harvested in the late 1700 seconds are not only still perfectly drinkable today, they are still actively improving inside the glass. It is a beverage built for absolute permanence, crafted by a people who realize that if you cannot change the heat and humidity of your island, you might as well use it to make something immortal. When you look at Madeira from the sky, the word that keeps echoing in your mind is impossible. It is a tiny speck of volcanic rock, measuring just 741 square kilometers, stranded in a vast ocean. It has no flat land, no mineral wealth, and no natural features that make human life easy. Yet, it thrives. It features thousands of kilometers of flowing water channels that haven't stopped since the Middle Ages, a wine that laughs at the passage of centuries, and a community that treats geographic hardship not as a curse, but as raw material. Tell me in the comments below, would you have the courage to walk the sheer cliffside paths of the Levada, or does that drop look just a little too steep? If this journey made you see the edges of our world a little differently, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Every week, we travel to the places the world forgot, staying just long enough to understand them. If you want to see how people build lives on an island where ships can only land when the weather allows, click on the Faroe Islands documentary on your screen right now. Or stay in the deep Atlantic and explore the story of 9 islands sitting directly on top of 3 crashing tectonic plates. The story of the Azores is waiting for you next. Thank you for watching, and keep exploring. Tell me in the comments below, would you have the courage to walk the sheer cliffside paths of the Levadas? Or does that drop look just a little too steep? If this journey made you see the edges of our world a little differently, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Every week, we travel to the places the world forgot, staying just long enough to understand them. If you want to see how people build lives on an island where ships can only land when the weather allows, click on the Faroe Islands documentary on your screen right now. Or stay in the deep Atlantic and explore the story of 9 islands sitting directly on top of 3 crashing tectonic plates. The story of the Azores is waiting for you next. Thank you for watching, and keep exploring.